The teasers dropped, the fandom went silent. In an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down. Welcome to Starscope K-Report. Join us as we ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
And today's deep dive is, well, it's massive.
Yeah, today we are diving into a headline that is actively, rewriting the rules of the global music industry. The topic, they're done, why BTS is officially boycotting the Grammys.
I mean, it is truly a seismic shift.
Yeah.
We're looking at a moment that will honestly be cited in music history books for decades.
Right.
Like when you cover this industry long enough, you get used to manufactured drama. But this is a fundamental restructuring of how global pop music actually operates.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack the official agency statements, the fiery backlash from Grammy executives.
Oh, it gets fiery.
It really does. Plus, the brutal numbers uncovered by K-Nets and the massive cultural shift this represents for the entire Hallyu wave. But we need to set the scene first, because you can't fully understand the weight of this boycott without understanding the sheer magnitude of this comeback.
Oh, totally.
BTS recently returned from their mandatory military service hiatus, and calling it an explosive return almost feels like an understatement.
It was a cultural reset. You have to remember the emotional weight of a military hiatus for any K-pop fandom. It's, years of waiting, years of uncertainty, wondering if the group dynamic will survive the pause.
Yeah, that hiatus anxiety is real.
Right. But for ARMY, the anticipation had been building like a pressure cooker. And then they dropped their 5th studio album, Arirang, in March 2026. The visuals, the production, the sheer scale of it, it was unparalleled. It felt like they were just reminding the world exactly who holds the crown.
I mean, the numbers alone are just staggering. The album hit #1 on the Billboard 200 with 641,000 units.
Which is insane for an opening week.
Just to put that into perspective for you, that is the biggest opening week for a group album in over a decade. And the title track, Swim, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, securing a massive all-kill.
A literal all-kill.
And for those of you new to the terminology, an all-kill means they simultaneously hit #1 on every single real-time and daily music chart. There was no metric where they weren't dominating.
None.
On top of that, they launched an 85-date, completely sold-out world tour kicking off in Goyang. They are quite literally on top of the world right now.
Which is exactly why July 29th was such a shock to the system.
Oh man, that day.
You could feel the collective gasp across the internet. All 7 members, RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and the maknae, Jungkook, simultaneously posted identical Instagram stories.
That's the exact same time.
Right. It wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a leak to the press. It was a direct, highly coordinated declaration that they would not submit their work for the 69th Annual Grammy Awards in 2027. They wrote, and I quote, "We hope music can be heard and loved for itself beyond regions or languages."
Wow. And just to provide the corporate context here, HYBE actually released a statement clarifying that this is not a company-wide boycott.
Right. That's an important distinction.
Yeah, other artists under their label will proceed with submissions if they wish to do so. So this was a decision made specifically by and for BTS.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Is rejecting the Grammys right after achieving an all-kill on the charts the ultimate flex of artistic autonomy? Or is it, a risky burn of a bridge they spent years trying to build?
Yeah, it is the defining question.
I mean, you don't spend a decade climbing a mountain just to plant your flag and never come back,
Right.
right? But this isn't just about a single Instagram post. The Grammys clapped back, and wait till you hear the brutal reality check netizens uncovered about who actually needed who in this relationship.
Oh, the receipts were wild.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, we have to look at the immediate trigger for this unprecedented boycott. It didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was the direct response to a highly controversial change made by the Recording Academy just a month prior.
Ah, right. The new category.
Yes. The tension really centers around the newly created Best Asian Pop Music Performance category.
Right.
The Recording Academy introduced this specifically for K-pop, J-pop, and C-pop. And on the surface, you might think, great, more representation. But when you look at the fine print of the rules...
Things get very complicated very quickly.
Exactly.
Let's detail those rules because the mechanics here are crucial. To be submitted in this new category, a track must feature meaningful use of an Asian language. Isolated words or ad-libs do not count. And here is the kicker. English-only tracks are completely disqualified from this specific category.
And this is where we hit the wild paradox of the Arirang album.
Right.
Most of BTS's new album, including that massive smash hit Swim, is in English. They do have a Korean version of their track Normal, which might theoretically qualify for the Asian pop category, but it significantly underperformed compared to Swim.
Yeah, on the major U.S. charts at least.
Right. So the biggest K-pop group on the planet, the very artists who spearheaded the global explosion of this genre, wouldn't even qualify for the inaugural award in the category created to honor Asian pop.
Wait, I'm confused here. If BTS deliberately recorded Swim in English to target global charts and Western audiences, shouldn't they want to be judged in the general field alongside, like Taylor Swift and The Weeknd, rather than being placed in a specialized Asian pop category anyway?
You'd think so, yeah.
Isn't the Academy essentially doing what BTS wanted by keeping their English hits out of the regional category?
It's a great question, and it seems logical on paper, but you have to look at how these legacy institutions actually function. International fans and netizens immediately saw through it. The fear isn't about being excluded from the Asian pop category.
Then what is it?
The fear is that this category is a glass ceiling designed to keep Asian artists segregated. It keeps them from ever actually competing in the coveted general field Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year.
Oh, I see.
It's like being invited to the mansion, but being told you have to stay out in the guest house.
So instead of a stepping stone, it's a quarantine zone.
Precisely. And this frustration is heavily compounded by history. We have to remember, BTS was nominated 3 times for Best Pop Duo Group Performance. Dynamite, Butter, and My Universe.
Right. And they never won.
Never. In fact, if we look at the historical context, the only K-pop Grammy win to date wasn't even a traditional Idol release. It was Golden from the Netflix animated film K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh, wow. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So imagine if your ultimate bias, your absolute favorite artist in the industry, spends years breaking every global streaming record, fills stadiums worldwide, and still can't break into the general field.
Yeah, that would be infuriating.
When you view it through that lens, this new category feels like a permanent relegation.
If you love staying updated on your favorites and decoding these massive industry moves, make sure you're subscribed to Starscope K Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead. Because as you can imagine, the Western music establishment was not going to take this rejection silently.
Not at all. The Recording Academy had to respond. I mean, the optics of the biggest band in the world rejecting your brand new category, they're terrible.
Yeah. We saw Grammy CEO Harvey Mason Jr. release an official statement. He expressed sadness and disappointment that BTS chose not to participate, but he did say he respects their decision as music creators.
Right.
However, he explicitly clarified the major point of confusion we just discussed. He stated that submitting to a genre category like Asian pop does not exclude an artist from the general field.
Right, he tried to do damage control.
Yeah, he insisted the category was created to expand recognition, not divide it, and that artists can absolutely pursue both.
But the diplomatic corporate response from the CEO is only half the story. If we look at the internal committee, the reaction was much more visceral.
Oh, absolutely.
Zena Koda, who is a Recording Academy committee member who actually advocated for the new category, she took to Instagram with some very fiery pushback.
It was intense.
She bluntly stated that this category, and I quote, wasn't for BTS at all. She argued it was built for emerging Asian artists who desperately need the visibility that massive superstars already have.
She actually expressed intense frustration that years of hard work for Asian representation were, in her words, torn down by one of the biggest Asian artists.
Wow.
Now, we are completely impartially reporting this, but you can see how heated the rhetoric became on both sides of the aisle.
What's fascinating here is the ideological clash. You have the Academy viewing this as a benevolent stepping stone for representation, while the artists and fans view it as a gilded cage. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, RM actually told GQ previously that they, quote, do not desperately want the Grammys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've been subtly telegraphing this shift in priorities for a while now.
And they aren't the first to do this. BTS is actually following in the footsteps of massive Western artists like The Weeknd, Drake, and Frank Ocean.
Right.
All of them have withdrawn from the Grammy machinery over systemic frustrations and a lack of transparency. So what does this all mean? It means the authority of these legacy awards is being actively challenged by the artists who drive the most culture.
Exactly. And with BTS pulling out and the Grammys defending their ground, a massive war of words erupted online. Which brings us to the actual viewership data. Domestic Knets on Reddit's RBT Snark decided to bypass the emotional arguments and pull the hard receipts.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If you're an international army listening to this right now, you're probably thinking that TV ratings are an antiquated metric anyway.
Totally.
But we looked at the brutal numbers from that Reddit source to impartially fact-check this popular fandom narrative that the Grammys used BTS for views.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the raw data, it paints a very surprising picture.
It really does challenge the established lore that BTS single-handedly saves Western award show ratings.
Let's break down the stats. In 2021, when BTS performed Dynamite, the Grammy viewership was at 8.8 million.
Okay.
In 2022, when they did that incredible live performance of Butter in Las Vegas, viewership was 8.93 million. Both of those years were record lows for the broadcast.
But then look at the years they were absent.
Right. In 2023, when BTS did not attend, the views surged to 12.55 million. And in 2024, when all members were completing their military service and were nowhere near the ceremony, views jumped again to a 4-year high of 16.9 million.
It's wild to look at those numbers.
So how does that work? If BTS has the biggest fandom on Earth, why did the ratings tank when they performed and spike when they left?
Well, we have to look at the mechanism of fandom viewing habits. Hardcore K-pop fandoms operate incredibly strategically.
Right.
When BTS performs at a Western awards show, fans don't necessarily tune into the traditional television broadcast to give the legacy network ad revenue, especially if they feel the network is just stringing them along for hours to bait viewers, which happens a lot.
Oh, the 3-hour wait for a 3-minute performance?
Exactly. Instead, they coordinate. They go on Twitter, they go on TikTok, watching unofficial restacks, isolated performance clips, and fan live streams. They consume the content massively, but they do it in a way that bypasses the traditional Nielsen rating machine entirely.
That makes total sense. They are engaging with the content, just not through the sanctioned channels.
But this data sparked an intense civil war within the community, and it's important we look at both sides impartially.
Yeah.
On one side, you have critics on platforms like Reddit arguing that these numbers prove HYBE pushed the Grammy narrative strictly for Western exposure. They argue that BTS's English trilogy, Dynamite, Butter, and Permission to Dance, sacrificed the profound artistic depth of their earlier Korean roots, specifically to chase this Western validation.
And a validation that didn't even result in the promised television viewership spike for the network.
Exactly. But conversely, international armor eyes argue that the TV ratings are a completely antiquated metric.
Which is a valid point.
Right. They point out that the Grammys are structurally out of touch. And regardless of traditional Nielsen ratings, the digital footprint, the trending hashtags, and the social media engagement that BTS brings to any event is completely unmatched.
Oh, they take over the internet.
They argue the boys outgrew the institution, not the other way around.
And that's not even the wildest part of this industry shakeup. Later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking plot twist from JYP Entertainment that could render the Grammys entirely obsolete for K-pop.
Oh, I cannot wait to get into that.
But real quick, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update.
So the reason this Reddit debate matters so much is because we have to remember who we are talking about here. BTS isn't just a band. They are an economic and diplomatic titan.
Yeah, they really are.
Their rejection of the Grammys is being analyzed by academics as a rejection of Western cultural hegemony.
To put the scale of their impact into perspective for you, let's look at the numbers. According to findings synthesized in the IASPM journal, BTS generates a staggering $3.54 billion annually for South Korea's GDP.
That is just, billion with a B.
Yes. They account for roughly 7.6% of all foreign tourism to the country. That means a single 7-member boy group is generating more annual economic value for South Korea than some mid-sized national industries.
It's unbelievable.
When they boycott the Grammys, it's not just a band complaining, it's a macroeconomic entity withdrawing its business.
And their soft power extends far beyond economics, too. They've served as presidential special envoys at the United Nations. They matched a $1 million donation for Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Culturally, they have entirely redefined the global concept of soft masculinity, challenging traditional gender norms with their visuals, their vulnerability, and their emotional intelligence. They don't need a Grammy to validate their cultural significance because they're already operating on a geopolitical level.
Which brings us to a really fascinating perspective from Seoul National University professor Hong Sik-kyung. He argues that the authority of an institution like the Grammys only works if the artists actually consent to it.
Yes, the withdrawal of consent.
By boycotting, BTS is demonstrating a concept academics call horizontalism.
This raises a profound question about where power truly resides in the modern music industry. Horizontalism suggests that K-pop's power is built upwards from the fans.
From the ground up.
Exactly. It's a lateral network of support, streaming, buying physical albums, and community engagement. It is not power granted downwards by Western gatekeepers or legacy voting committees.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, instead of a central bank distributing currency downwards, like the Grammys handing out prestige to artists they deem worthy deal, K-pop operates more like a decentralized cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
The value is entirely generated, maintained, and validated by the network of fans themselves. The fans are the currency.
That is a brilliant analogy, yes.
Yeah.
By withdrawing their consent, BTS essentially strips the Grammys of their authority over the Hallyu Wave. They're saying, your currency is no good here anymore.
And the industry is already moving to fill that void. Which brings us to the plot twist. J.Y. Park, the founder of JYP Entertainment, just announced a massive new project, Phenomenon.
Just blew my mind.
It's a new government-backed K-culture awards show. And the most crucial detail here, it is entirely driven by hard data from platforms like Spotify and YouTube.
This is huge. They are eliminating subjective voting committees entirely. No more opaque panels of industry insiders deciding what constitutes artistic excellence.
Right, no more closed-door meetings.
It's a direct challenge to the Grammy model, relying instead on the undeniable metrics of global fan engagement.
It's the ultimate disruption. If you remove the subjective voting, you remove the bias, the politics, and the glass ceilings we were just talking about.
Exactly. So I leave you with this final provocative thought to mull over. If the biggest band in the world can successfully turn their back on the music industry's most prestigious institution without losing a single drop of their influence, what happens if the rest of the Hallyu Wave follows suit? Will the Grammys eventually be forced to adapt to the reality of global pop and change their entire voting structure? Or will they become completely irrelevant to the artists who are actually shaping the future of music?
You've been listening to Starscope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu Wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.